slide. So we are going to be referencing the resource and working inside the tool. So this is going to be very hands-on. So we are here to talk about how do we keep Cloverleaf relevant all year? And we're going to talk about routines that drive ongoing engagement. And because we know that many different people come from different roles, we made this role specific. And even if you're not that specific role, you can learn by hearing about the other roles. So if you're a manager, you can learn by hearing about the manager role and the individual contributor role. If you're the individual contributor, you can learn by also hearing the manager role and bringing suggestions to your team and vice versa. So I also have specific angles for talent leaders and also external coaches and consultants as well. And if you are an external coach or consultant, you can learn by hearing all of the roles because you can also advise your clients. Okay, so first of all, I didn't introduce myself, but many of you know me. My name is Stephanie Licata. I am the senior learning strategist here at Cloverleaf, but I'm also a Cloverleaf customer. And I use Cloverleaf in my practice with many of my clients in training, leadership development, executive and leadership and team coaching, and all kinds of fun things. Jason, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Jason. I most notably am Cloverleaf's entire customer support team, but I span across all things education and content and all that fun stuff. So thanks for taking some time to hang out with us today.
So we are here to support you. You can also, if you have a question, and as I speak, you can also pop it in the chat, and Jason will support you in the chat. And also, we'll be putting links to things in the chat as well. If you just joined us, Jason will put the link one more time in the chat of the resource that we are working in. You also may want to log into Cloverleaf because we're going to be doing some practice in here as well. All right, so what are we going to do today? We're going to ask you a poll. We're going to ask you to tell us about your role. Then I also am going to share with you another opportunity to learn. If you are a talent leader or you design learning programs, people processes, we have a talent leader webinar that is going to specifically train people on how to integrate the feedback feature into people processes. So we're going to share with you a little bit about that. And then we want to know, we're going to crowdsource, what are some of the Cloverleaf challenges? Where does participation drop off? So we want to hear from you. And then we're going to explore Cloverleaf routines by role. And we're going to talk about daily coaching. How do you use daily coaching to reinforce behaviors? We'll talk about Discover for in the moment moments, like different by role, different ways to infuse Discover in the moment. And again, if you don't just pay attention to your role, pay attention to the other roles as well. We'll also talk about the feedback feature, and I'll bring it up. I've had Jason send me a feedback request so you can see it. And we'll talk about how do you use it to keep growth visible throughout the course of your work experience. We'll also look at how can we use team dashboards and thinking styles to really, encourage collaboration but strengthen it. And then me and Jason, we have this little obsession with this little hidden gem on the team dashboard, which is the energy rhythm meeting planner, which is to use this assessment and it's a little feature on the team dashboard to plan meetings, to have better meetings, depending on what the meeting topic is, to have better outcomes. So we're going to show you how to use that on a more regular basis. And then we'll share with you our next webinar date, give you an opportunity to give us feedback to help craft that topic. So these topics also, Jason and I do not plan them from our own heads. We take all your feedback from the past couple of webinars, we put it all together, we mush it all together, and we actually look at what are the similarities, what are the patterns that, and how could we address some of those issues and in a webinar. So your feedback is really important. So hang out and give us your feedback and tell us what you want to see. And that's how we create these experiences. Okay, so first tell us about you. So Jason, pop that poll on the screen and tell us what role best describes you. Are you a senior or C-suite talent leader or learning leader? Are you a director or manager level talent or learning leader? Are you a manager of a team? Are you an individual contributor or are you a coach or consultant? So tell us what title best describes you. All right, we like to get at least 85%. So all you have to do is look up on the screen and click a little button if you're with us and tell us what role best describes you. All right, so far we have those talent leaders are leading the charge. 39% so far. Come on, we have a few more. Check it off. Check it off. We can get a few more. We're at 81%. You can get us to 85. I know you can. All right. Oh, 86%. There we go. All right. So would you share the results of that poll? Okay, great. So we have the biggest group here, director or manager, talent, and learning leader. Excellent. And next up is the individual contributor. Great. And everybody else is split between the other three roles. Excellent. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it very much. Okay. So since we have that biggest group with us, I want to share with you this webinar we have coming up. And Jason is going to put the link in the chat. This is coming up Wednesday, February 25th. It's going to be a lab style webinar. It's set up as a meeting. So you'll be able to speak and ask questions. It's set up as a little bit of a shorter session. It's interactive. It's for talent and learning leaders who design people, processes, programs, and scale them. And you're going to learn how to use the feedback feature. And we are going to show you that today if you haven't used it yet, and how you can embed it into things like onboarding, performance management, any kind of leadership development effort. If you have a team program, we're also going to add in there like career development frameworks. So how can you embed it into that? So, and you don't have to create any content, right? It's in there. I'll just give you instructions. I will give you guides that you can literally copy and paste. Okay. So I will do the lifting for you. Okay. And you just lift it into your existing processes, and it's the features already in your accounts. And you'll get practical workflows, right? That will show people how they can use that feedback tool. Okay. So it's already in Cloverleaf, and you'll be able to repeat that. And ultimately, it enhances this culture of feedback, and you don't have to add anything. You've already invested in Cloverleaf. Okay. So if you want to join us, it's for talent leaders who are designing those processes, who are accountable, who own those processes, learning leaders. Again, it differs in each organization. You also, if you have people on your teams that you want to invite to this, so talent or learning leaders, you may have people who are not org admins that you want to invite to this that are on your team. You're like, hey, team, I want you to learn this. Okay. You can share this link with others. Say, hey, I want to come on here. We're going to learn together. So Jason has put that link in the chat. If you want to register for that, you can. It looks like this. Okay. And you can join us for that. Again, it's a meeting, not a webinar. So it's not going to be like a giant thing. It'll probably be a little bit more intimate, and you'll be able to talk and ask questions, and you'll be able to kind of, it'll be a little lab-like. So if you want to bring your processes, you can. You don't have to. It's up to you. If you just want to listen, that's fine. And you'll get a resource as well that you can kind of copy and paste instructions into your own processes. Okay. All right. So, again, audience is HR, talent, L&D leaders who are architecting scalable people practices. That's what it's for. All right. So we are going to be demonstrating a lot of things. So everyone, this is my suggestion. I suggest logging into Cloverleaf. We're going to work off the resource. Again, if you're just joining us, I thought it was silly to copy and paste everything in here onto a slide. Okay, we're going to be working off the resource. This is done by role. And even if you're not this role, you want to be listening for, do I support people in this role? Can I share or empower or influence people in this role? Individual contributors, do not underestimate the power that you have to give an idea to your manager, okay? So talent leaders, do not, I'm sure you're supporting a lot of managers and you want managers to use this tool that you've invested in. Coaches, consultants, you're working with a lot of managers that you want to get trained in, in Cloverleaf. Your senior, talent leaders, you of course want to empower, your people managers to, to make Cloverleaf a habit. You all want to make the most of the investment that your organization made. So all of these are best practices, okay? You could literally take this, you could copy and paste this and put it in a PDF and put your own logo on it, okay? This is not proprietary, or you could just take this link. Eventually, this webinar is going to be in a video right at the top of this, right? So if you want to bookmark it, you can come back to this later, right? So we know that in the beginning of any tool you get, right, it's, it can be, exciting. So I want you to pop in the chat, right? Tell me a little bit about what you experience as the challenge or the drop-off point. What happened? And again, it's not just Cloverleaf. It's with any new thing, any new tool. We get a lot really excited, and then sometimes it drops off. So in your experience, tell me what is the challenge with sustaining Cloverleaf momentum? Okay, so we have completing the initial assessment. So getting everybody actually in there, right? Keeping up with the tool and integrating it into the daily process, right? Keep going. Tell me more. The day after, it just feels like one more thing rather than easy integration. Keeping everyone else on board, the novelty of it all, out of sight, out of mind, time. Are my people using this, right? I don't know. Are they using it, right? Okay. So this is why, as a leader, even as an individual contributor, you have the power, right? As a talent leader, right? We have the ability, right, to be ambassadors. All of us, right, have the ability to be ambassadors, right? Work priorities, right? It's busy. I'm busy. I don't have time to do this thing and log into this thing, this place, right? I'm busy, right? So we want to embed, we want to make a habit, right? So I'm going to be giving you routines, right? And we want to be looking in Cloverleaf, okay? So we all know that people mostly look at the emails, right? Now I use this little analogy. So, and I use it a lot. So if you've heard it before, I apologize. So I'm 100% Italian, and there's this thing in our culture where sometimes my older relatives, they'll be afraid to put their money in the bank. So it's a kind of like an old wives' tale, they put it in the mattress, right? So it's kind of like taking your money and hiding it in the mattress and not investing it, or taking your money and giving it to the financial planner, and you say, leave it in the cash account, don't invest it. That's the equivalent of only looking at the Cloverleaf emails. There's no return, right? It's a lower return on the investment. A lot of the return happens when you actually use the features, right? You want to get the benefits of the features by logging in, right? How do we do that? We have to model that, okay? We have to model that over and over, and we have to create invitations and accountability for people to do that. And we have to do that by creating routines. So let's talk about managers first. How do we reinforce behaviors with daily coaching? So I'm going to pop on, this is our demonstration. Oh, actually, this is our Cloverleaf account, because Jason and I are going to demonstrate something a little later. So when you look at your daily coaching, right, these are the daily coaching tips that you might receive in your email, okay? One of the ways you're able to persuade people is by inspiring and supporting them and their ideas, right? So this is what you get in your email, okay? It's the same ones, okay? So here's what you want to do. Invite team members to actually take one of those tips to actually, mention it during a one-on-one or a team meeting to drive insight. So you might say to people, for example, bring one of your tips that you got in the past week to the meeting. Now you have to model it yourself. So you might start a team meeting with, hey, we're going to start our team meeting by talking about a tip that we've got on Cloverleaf in the past week that, really resonated with us the most. If you create that as a repeatable exercise, guess what? I'm going to start paying attention to my Cloverleaf tips because now you're holding me accountable. And you want to tie it directly to current work. What you could also do, right, is that, okay, everybody, as someone shares their tip, say how you've seen that person, right, use that tip that they're sharing, right? So for example, I might say to Jason, hey, Jason, can you share how maybe I've inspired or supported your ideas, right? So I might share that tip and Jason might say, hey, the other day I was sharing an idea with Stephanie and she really, encouraged me to develop it more, right? So I might share a tip and then it becomes this informal exchange of recognition. And then you're getting the mileage out of the tool because you're now creating these informal recognition sessions that are building trust with your team. So this focuses on the application of using those daily coaching tips that's going on just beyond opening a random email. Okay. Now, we all know that Discover, and if you haven't been using Discover, this is like the Powerball of Cloverleaf. Okay. You want to make sure that you as a manager, okay, are using Discover for real moments. And if you're supporting managers, you're encouraging them to use it. So my talent leaders, when your people are coming to you and they're saying, oh, I can't deal with this person, or I don't know how to talk to them, you want to say to them, have you used Discover? Okay. Now, also my individual contributors, right? If you're struggling to communicate with your people, with your manager, right? You could also be using it together in there. So if a manager wants to actually use this in a real moment way, here you can actually use this prompt right here. I'm going to go into here. How can I give feedback to, I'm going to use Jason so I don't put an in-person that isn't here on the spot. Poor Jason. How can I give feedback to Jason specifically about missed deadlines in a collaborative way? Okay. So my talent leaders, if you've got people that are coming to you to complain about the same person over and over again, oh, have you used Cloverleaf to customize your communication, right? And you want that manager to be using that, right? And now I've got some information here and I've got some apply this. Now, don't do it for them. Make them get it up on their screen. Okay. It tells them exactly what to do. Okay. My coaches, you want to also be supporting managers and doing this as well. I think I've shared before. Sometimes I'm coaching a client, they're telling me the same thing over and over again. I'll pull up Cloverleaf because I make my coachees put their team members on Cloverleaf so that I can get more of the information about the people that I'm coaching and the dynamics that they're dealing with. Right. So do you see here, there's other addressing tension, coaching performance, encourage your employees. If you're a manager, you want to be presencing this tool on a regular basis. Okay. You have 3 minutes in a team meeting to say, hey, is anyone using this? How could we use this better? If you're the manager, presence it. Right? If you're training managers or supporting managers, train them to presence it. Okay. All right. Feedback. How many of you have not used the feedback feature? If you've not used the feedback feature, oh, raise your hand. Use the raise your hand if you've not used the feedback feature. All right. So we've got about, let's see, we've got about 13 people who've not used the feedback feature. Okay. I am going to demonstrate it for you right now. Jason has sent me a feedback request. So what I'm first going to share with you is I'm going to share with you how to put together a feedback request so that you can see both sides of it. Jason's already sent me one so that you can see how it works. You're going to use this if you're a manager or you're supporting managers, you use it. And this is just one example. Jason, by the way, just put a help document link if you want to learn more about how to use this tool. after I talk or you want to share with other people, you can share this link. So for example, if you're a manager, you might want to ask one of the same questions to your direct reports every quarter, something like what helped or didn't about how I communicated this past quarter. And then you might go to your leader and say, hey, look at this feedback that I got from my team. How might I use this to set a goal for myself as a leader? And look at the consistencies, look at the patterns. If you're a coach or consultant, this is a good exercise for you to give your managers that you support as well. Okay, so see this little feedback right here. So if I wanted to create a feedback request for myself, so if I'm a manager and I wanted to ask a question of my team members, I could say, okay, I want to ask for feedback from Jason. I would type Jason's name. Now, I could actually pick one of these questions, or I could just type a question. I could say, what support do you need from me this quarter to help you meet your goals? So let's just say we had a goal setting session and I want to follow up with it. That's all I have to do is create the feedback request. Okay. Now, this tool does integrate with Slack. Teams is coming, and you could technically use it in Slack and eventually Teams and never have to even go into Cloverleaf, or you can do it all in Cloverleaf. Right now, it's also going to generate an email and tell Jason, hey, you have a request. Now, I had Jason initiate a request to me as a mock so I could show you. So I just sent a request to Jason. This is what Jason would see on the other end, okay? So Jason sent me a request and I'm gonna give him feedback, okay, ready? So now if you're a manager, right, imagine you asking for feedback from your direct reports, okay? You could do this with everybody. You could do that with a new person. Imagine doing with a new person to try to get to know them. Maybe they're remote and you don't see them but for once a quarter in person. So Jason is pretending to me my direct report. What changes could I make to foster better teamwork and communication on our team? Now, watch this here. This is the feedback coach, okay? So it says you respond best to feedback that acknowledges both effort and logic before pointing areas for growth, favoring clear and actionable suggestions. So I'm going to start typing. One thing might be to be more forthcoming with your suggestions for the team. Now, do you see it says try adding a specific example to help Jason understand the context, okay? It says Jason values evidence-based actionable feedback. Point to a recent meeting where input was missed and suggest a clear action for next time. For example, in our last meeting, you shared a great suggestion with me after the meeting, one-on-one, and I would have loved for you to share it with the whole team so they could have heard it. Don't be afraid to share your voice with confidence. Okay? Now watch this little checklist, okay? I got all the points. It's telling me all the things that Jason really appreciates. So I use specific examples, I described the impact, I provided actionable suggestions, and I detailed enough to help him understand what he could do, and I was respectful in my tone. Now, it also is going to give me an AI summary. So I could send what I wrote, or if I want, I could apply the AI summary if I want. But maybe I just want to submit the feedback I already have. Okay, I'm okay. I think I liked what I wrote. I'm going to submit it. And so I submit it. Now, Jason has it on his end, and Jason can also now take notes. I want to show you what it looks like when you receive feedback. So when you receive feedback, you can actually take notes here. So this is one that Heidi gave me, and I can actually take notes if I want, okay? So if you're a manager or you support managers, pop in the chat, where do you see that a manager, if you're one, or you support managers, could make this a routine? Pop it in the chat. Where do you see they can make this a routine? Pop it in the chat. Where do you see, if you're a manager or you support managers, how could they make this a routine? How could they make this cyclical? Okay, good. Before a one-on-one meeting. Excellent. Weekly check-ins, right? Yes, preparing for those. Is there something on your mind? Is there something to picture? Oh, Bethany says, I'm wondering if we could get rid of another service we pay for. Yes. Setting the OKRs. Yes. Good. Talking to other managers on how we approach a problem customer. Okay, good. Preparing for reviews. Excellent. Quarterly is part of reviews. Excellent. Love it. Yes, starting point. So you start off in the right direction. You don't have to use it as the review, but it could help prep for the review. Excellent. Really good. Awesome. So you can see how this can be useful. Awesome. Okay. So you can see that this can be super useful. So now, again, we're moving a little quickly. I'm going to go to the team dashboard in a moment, but I want to show you the thinking styles piece. And I know you've seen this feature before, but I suggest using this feature anytime you have a project kickoff or you're going to have a meeting where you're trying to solve a problem, trying to solve for something. And what you're looking for is naming any potential differences, right? Any potential sources of conflict out loud. Okay. So I'm going to very quickly just go to a team dashboard. So the thinking styles comparison compares two people and it does it by assessment. So I'm going to go to our team, Jason. Okay. And I'm going to compare like me and Jason, right? So Jason and me. So we're not showing anybody who's not here. So I'm going to pick Enneagram, right? And so let's say Jason and I were about to kick off a project together. We might look at how are our work styles different? So Jason's organized, task-oriented, professional. I'm future-oriented, big picture thinking, fast learner, enjoys brainstorming, enjoys changing work environments. So we might look at this and say, okay, how can me and Jason balance each other as we launch this project? So this is good as even in a project kickoff meeting, you can pair up people and say, what do we have to do to make this project most successful? What two people might work best together or complement each other, right? It can be done for project planning, project kickoffs. Enneagram is great for conflict. DISC is great for, behavior and work styles, okay? How people work together and how they can directly complement each other, right? So Jason can make the details excellent and I can help lead the big picture. And that's exactly how Jason and I collaborate, right? Jason notices all the things that I will never see, right? I won't see them, right? Jason would be like, what about this? What about that? I won't see them, okay? All right, great. So you see these features? I'm pointing them out because this is all the gold. This is the gold mine. All right. Also on that same dashboard is energy rhythm, okay? That little gold nugget that Jason and I shared about. Okay, so you ready? This is the golden nugget. If you know that your team has to do a brainstorming meeting, brainstorming is better in recovery. Recovery is the best time for creating tasks, such as researching or generating ideas. Most of our team, except for me, is better at recovery, brainstorming and recovery in the afternoon. So I could be the sacrificial lamb. The brainstorming meetings should happen in the afternoon for our team. But if we were to have an intense focus meeting, like data analysis, the better time is the morning, right? Because peak time is better for people that are more morning people or more midday people, more 9 to 5ers. I'm an anchor, I'm a night owl, so I'm the outlier here. So if you're a manager, you want to look at, hey, and I know time zones are a problem. If you have people in different time zones, you've got to do some time zone math. But this is a really good way to start being really strategic about when you have not only your meetings, but your one-on-ones. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so anybody, even not just managers, what's your biggest takeaway from the thinking styles or the energy rhythm? What could you be using these two features for that maybe you haven't been using them for? What could you be using these two features for? The thinking styles and the energy rhythm. What could you be using these two things for? How could they be making a difference? Pop in the chat. How could they be making a difference? By having more strategic meetings and by being more strategic with your project kickoff. Yes, getting the most out of team members so they can collaborate and meld more effectively. Excellent, Rachel. Jason, can you just help Linda? Ben said, lining up your inquiries with folks' most productive time. Yes, making sure that we're getting that the best investment out of that time. Excellent. Awesome. Yes, Rachel. The Rachels are winning the day here. You don't have to look at downloaded assessment profiles and shared documents. The info you need for collaboration is right in front of you. Yes. Okay, this is not your grandfather's assessment profile, right? This is the next generation of using this assessment data, right? Yes, building confidence in team members' abilities. Joy, that's an awesome call out, Joy. We want people to feel confident at work. So we want to leverage their strengths rather than focus on their weaknesses. Excellent. Love it. Okay. Oh, I keep clicking on the wrong tab. All right. So what good looks like here is, as a manager, is that if you're really embedding Cloverleaf into your day-to-day, your team members are actually referencing their Cloverleaf insights without you having to ask them. You're making a habit out of it. You're also, if you're embedding Cloverleaf into your routine as a manager, or if you're supporting managers and they're kind of getting the message, they're going to have fewer missed communications, right? And they're also going to get alignment more quickly. And the personalization that's going to happen in the communications that you're going to have is going to be more prevalent versus managers just taking a one size fits all approach. Okay. Okay, so if you're an individual contributor, now this affects everybody here. Managers, you manage individual contributors. Talent leaders, whether you're senior, director, manager level, you are supporting leaders who are supporting individual contributors, and coaches and consultants, you're supporting leaders and talent leaders who are supporting those people. You want to use Cloverleaf so that you can actually use it to support your own career development and support your own reinforcement of your own strengths. Okay, so you want to make sure that your coaching insights, that you're tying it to upcoming meetings that are happening or work that you're actually doing. So when you receive those coaching insights in your, I'm going to go back to my, when you receive these coaching insights in your inbox or you log in, make sure you log in. I say I have Cloverleaf up like I have ChatGPT or Google or my email up. It's up every day. Log into it, okay? Make sure you're taking one of these and applying it to your work, whether it's an insight about yourself, ask yourself, how can I lean into this strength? If you get an insight about a colleague, how can I lean into that strength? How can I collaborate with this person? If it shares with you a strength about that person, ask yourself, what does that mean for you in collaborating with them or working on a project with them? Okay. Now, use Discover in these areas. If you struggle to speak up in meetings and maybe you want your voice to be heard, use this prompt. How can I make sure my voice is heard? Right now, you remember, you can use the entire team name. So how can I make sure my voice is heard with the CS team especially given when we have a tight schedule for this project, right? So you can type your team name in here. Okay, so this knows that I'm on this team. If you want your voice to be heard, if you want to create visibility, if you want to advance your career, use this tool. Okay. Take an extra meet, or it's going to tell you how to approach it. It tells you the language to use. Okay. It's going to give you that information and how you can position yourself in some of these meetings. Okay. Now, here are some more prompts for you. I'm not going to demonstrate the feedback feature every time. I demonstrated it in that first one, but these are different angles that are role specific. So for example, you want to use the feedback feature in this way. So if you want to use it in a peer way, especially if someone new comes onto your team, you might ask a new person, hey, how do you prefer feedback? Or let's say you're working on a project with someone. How do you prefer feedback on the timeline of this project? Or what could we collaborate on? Like the same thing that Jason sent me, how could we be more collaborative to be more effective on our team together? You might also want to ask for feedback from your manager, especially if you're looking to advance your career. Or maybe you've had a setback and you want to check in, or maybe you've been given some performance goals to hit. And you might want to ask your manager, what's the single biggest area of improvement you've seen in me this past quarter? Right? Ask for that feedback. What's an area I could focus on developing to get to the next level in our department? Okay. So if you're trying to elevate yourself, solicit that feedback. Right. So when you're on that team dashboard, and I was, like I shared before, I'm going to go to my teams. You could also, if you're trying to navigate working together, with different people, you might want to, even in a one-on-one meeting with a peer, you might even want to say, hey, let's pressure test this. Let's look at some of our differences and see what's really resonating. So you might want to go to, I'm going to go here and put up me and Jason again. Like, let's say Jason and I were about to work on something together, and we might say, hey, like, how can we, before we launch into this project or before we work together, let's pressure test this. What are some obstacles we might hit, and how can we set some guardrails for it, right? And then what you can do is you can actually set some best practices to a project or to the way you collaborate based on what you see there, right? Same thing with energy rhythm. Let's say you and a coworker or a group of people as an individual contributor are about to set up a bunch of meetings. You want to look and see, okay, well, we have to do some project planning. So when are we going to do that? That is probably going to require some really, like, a lot of factual pieces. So most of us are in our peak. Let's do that in the morning. So as you're doing that project plan, that collaboration, use this to set the different types of meetings together, right? So if you're an individual contributor, here's what good looks like. Your way of communicating with your peers, it shifts because it's more personalized. Also, you being able to think about your career development, it gets much more intentional. You're using this tool to get feedback, to be more visible, to create visibility for yourself, to get some self-coaching. And your meetings get more effective, both one-on-one and in teams, because you're customizing your approach. So if you're an individual contributor or you support individual contributors, what do you see as the biggest takeaway from some of these applications of these routines? What's the biggest value or the biggest takeaway from some of these routines? Pop it in the chat. If you're an individual contributor or you support them, what do you see as the biggest takeaway here? How can individual contributors be creating value here if they're applying some of this? Yes, self-directed. Rachel, you're going to get an MVP over here. Self-directed growth and development. Personal growth, yes. Excellent. We're really encouraging ownership also. Using the data to Rachel's, are you in the same room? Using the data to understand and get to know team members more quickly and easily to grow relationships. We're building trust. Rachel M's, the Rachel M's, Rachel Morris, Rachel Moynihan. These Rachels are just creating the Cloverleaf playbook here. Joy, curiosity of self and reflection on the team. Yes, this is also encouraging this journey, right? This self journey. Love it. Excellent. Okay, my talent and L&D leaders, this is all applying to you because you support all these people and coaches too. But we're going to look at this now from enabling these managers, right? So you want to reinforce to managers that they don't need to manage Cloverleaf. They don't need to administer it the same way you do. But you want to make sure that they understand with the coaching, daily coaching, how these insights can support behavior change if they just embed it. And you want to make sure that you're using Cloverleaf on yourself on a regular basis so that you can create case studies. So that's one of the things we do in our Train the Trainer program. Some of you on here have been through that. We do these practice challenges so that you can create case studies for yourself. So you want to make sure that if they come to you with a problem, you're showing them, okay, are you using the daily coaching? Go to the manager section of this resource and empower them. So you want to, if they come to you and say, I'm having a problem with someone, you want to position Discover as a support tool for difficult conversations, right? Use Cloverleaf. You want to say, hey, you want to be using Cloverleaf in these conversations and model it. So rather than telling them what to do, pull up their team on Cloverleaf and in Discover and say, hey, let's have you pull up your Cloverleaf. You type in what you're struggling with. I do this with my coaching clients. A lot of times, talent managers, you are talking to people in a coaching capacity. Say, okay, bring up your Cloverleaf. Type your frustration right in there. Let them vent and have a solution-focused conversation with them, right? I'm so frustrated with people that don't, honor deadlines. Now, I'm not going to put anybody's name in here right now, but you could put the person's name and tell them, just type in there, just unabashedly type in there. And they could maybe even put the person's name in there. And then have a conversation based upon what's on the screen. Instead of getting into drama, details, work gossip, take the work gossip out of the conversation. Get solution oriented. Okay. Say, okay, what do you feel most comfortable with doing here? Okay. And then you have a much more strategic conversation with people, my talent people. You have a much more strategic conversation. And also, when you're supporting any kind of cross-functional work, use Cloverleaf to also empower them. I like it too, Tammy, right? I interrupt all the storytelling by bringing up Cloverleaf on the screen. So you want to actually use Cloverleaf to empower them to actually solve challenges when they're happening. So you're not getting the 911 call. And it's not that you're not telling them, don't call me. You're just saying you want to empower them a little bit, right? To, hey, sometimes I might not be available. I want to make sure that you can help yourself. Okay. And encourage that they use this during workflows. Train and model the feature. If you ever are doing trainings, my talent leaders, constantly present Cloverleaf. Constantly show the features, show them how to use it. Okay. So you also want to tell quick, short stories around the feedback feature. You've got to train people to use the feedback feature. If you are not registered for the feedback, if you're a talent leader who's not registered for this feedback webinar, even if you cannot attend, just register. I'll be on the email once the recording comes out, because this will teach you how to train people on it and also embed it into these workflows. You've got to integrate it into those processes. So one of the things we're going to do in that webinar is, how do you integrate it into onboarding, right? What are the prompts that you want to give people during onboarding in the feedback? What are the questions in feedback? Also, how do you want to incorporate it as a precursor to performance? Things like that, okay? Now, you can also use the team dashboard in the same way to spot patterns. So, for example, when a person comes to you for support and says, I'm experiencing this. Well, okay, every time we have this meeting, it doesn't work. I'm going to go right into this energy rhythm piece on the team dashboard. And you could say, well, when are you having those meetings? Well, every time we have a data analysis meeting, we're having it in the afternoon. Okay, so let me just see here. We're having that data analysis meeting in the afternoon, but most of these people, their peak times in the morning, right? So let's do a simple shift there. Like use data to inform your support of these people rather than just like opinion or brainstorming. So use some of this data to spot some patterns. Remember, we're never using this data to inform roles or assignments, right? This is about helping people to navigate strengths and conversations. This is not about skill. This is not measuring skill. Okay. So we're not talking about roles, assignments of work. This is about skill and strengths. It's not about skill. It's about strengths and leveraging people's strengths and honoring people's strengths, right? So their strengths are going to be highlighted in this time. That's all. So if you're a talent leader, what good looks like is that managers have actually been integrating the features into their workflow, and it's more habitual, it's more regular. And that Cloverleaf is embedded into your people processes, and development is showing up, right? Without you having to create stuff, right? So my talent leaders, what do you see as the biggest takeaway? What could you start doing right now that you're not doing? What's a start for you? What could you start doing right now that you're not doing if you're a talent leader? What could you start doing that you're not doing now? Type in the chat. What could you start doing that you're not doing now? It's one thing you could just start doing. Just one simple practice that you could start doing. So Ben, I asked, what's one from what I shared, what's one simple action or practice you could start doing if you're a talent or learning leader with Cloverleaf that you're not doing now? Like what's one simple thing you could do? It could be around a feature, it could be around empowering managers, it could be around embedding into training. What's one thing you could action on from all of this if you're a talent leader? Okay, Rachel shared our company is getting ready to launch Cloverleaf. We're planning on using Cloverleaf options in our monthly manager employee trainings, adding an additional hands-on time to show and practice. Yes, any kind of practice time that you can do. So one of the things that we address, myself and Peggy, who deliver a lot of workshops, is that don't be afraid to actually have people log into Cloverleaf if you're doing training. A lot of times we don't like people to be on computers, but most people learn how to use platforms by using them. So a lot of times we get like very policing. Oh, we don't want people to be on the computers. They're going to be on email. Have people work in groups and give them a task, and it will take that away because they'll be accountable, and then check in with them. So don't talk about Cloverleaf and put it on a screen. Let them log in because they need the experience to do that, and treat people like adults. Look, you're going to have a couple people who are going to goof off. It's okay. For the most part, if you do things in a group and not in like a classroom style, do things in a round, you walk around, they'll talk with each other, you ask for feedback. You have to, be able to do it in that way, and it'll create a lot more accountability. Yes, encourage feedback. I like that link. Yes, link things to our intranet for forward access. I like that. That's great. Excellent. Okay. Lastly, my external practitioners, if you're a coach, a consultant, a trainer, you want to encourage people to use the daily coaching in between sessions. You might ask them to come to the next session with the coaching insight that resonated with them, and use it as a reflection point. You might even start your coaching session. And again, you might be, if you're a manager or even a talent leader, you might be someone who does that in the middle of a beginning of a one-on-one or a training session. So use that to say, hey, I want you to come to each session with the coaching tip that really resonated with you the most, or that you took action from. So I also like to, as a coach myself, I assign Discover before people are having a difficult conversation. I also embed it into goal challenges. So if someone has a goal like of leadership communication, I will say, okay, anytime you are getting ready to have a conversation with this person who I know you have, stress and, challenges with, I want you to use Discover first. And I will give that to them as like a goal or a best practice. They'll create the goal about having better communication with the person. I'll give them the best practice. And then also debrief with them. Say, how did that work? Make them, hold them accountable for using Discover. Again, I shared with you, I'll use it during the session to interrupt the storytelling. I do assign this. So assign the feedback feature to support the goals that people have actually created. So, for example, you might assign people to a coaching client to ask a specific question. Hey, why don't, since you have the goal of X, here's a question you could ask to all of your direct reports, to one of your direct reports. And then you can review the feedback they get with people, have them share with you the feedback they get and spot patterns. And then you can set additional goals with them or deepen the goals. Now, I always have the teams of my coaching clients on Cloverleaf. And I call that three-dimensional coaching. And then you can really contextualize the challenges that they're having. So if I have my coachees team on here and they're saying I'm having a challenge with certain things, I can say, okay, so I'm having a challenge managing these two people. They're always clashing. So I'll say, okay, let's look at them side by side and see where those challenges might be happening. And then I can have a much more targeted coaching conversation with them about those two people. If I don't have the data of their team, it's all stories. And I don't want to hear stories. I want to have actual information, right? Lastly, the same thing with energy rhythm. Help them do the same thing I've just showed you. Help them work with their team to have really strategic meetings. So if you are a coach, what good looks like, clients, they arrive prepared with insights. They actually retain things in between the sessions that you're having with them, with their training or coaching, and they actually accelerate the learning and they integrate learning in between the sessions.